Welcome to Duck Season Somewhere podcast. This episode is brought to you by the following sponsors. For 365 days a year, it's duck season somewhere at Ramsey Russell's GetDucks.com. The world of duck hunting is way bigger than our backyard. The very best duck hunts in Argentina and Mexico are only the beginning. We specialize exclusively in 6 continents worth of proven waterfowl hunting adventures. Whether you're looking for a unicorn species or a fun trigger pulling vacation of epic proportion, we've got the right hunt dialed in. Real duck hunts and authentic experiences for serious duck hunters. As a genuine American duck hunter myself, I know the difference. Founded in 2003, GetDucks.com is not just what we do, it's all we do. I've been there personally many times. Our reputation speaks for itself. Anita and I are personally available to assist before, during, and after your trip because you deserve nothing less. Looking for something closer to home? The next great hunt is closer than you think. Contact proven operators throughout the U.S. and Canada at our U.S. hunt list. Explore worldwide duck hunting at GetDucks.com. All package details, photos, videos, stories, and thousands of client testimonials right there at your fingertips. GetDucks.com. Ball Shot Shell's copper-plated bismuth tin alloy is the good old days again. Steel shots come a long way in the past 30 years, but will never, ever be like good old-fashioned lead. No way. Say goodbye to all the gimmicky, high recoil, compensation, science, and marketing hype, and hello to superior performance. Know your pattern, take ethical shots, make clean kills. That is the boss way. The good old days are now. It really is duck season somewhere for 365 days per year. Duck season somewhere takes me year-round to worldwide destinations where I visit with the most interesting people. I'm your host, Ramsey Russell. Join me here to listen to those conversations.
Ramsey Russell, GetDucks.com. It's duck season somewhere, and today is, I don't know, what date is it? March 20th, 21st, 22nd?
Yeah, I'd like to say every day Saturday. But
today,
it don't feel like that anymore, does it?
That's exactly. No, it don't feel like that anymore, but it kind of sort of does. I don't look at my calendar anymore. I've got a different work schedule right now. Guys, it is duck season somewhere. With all that's going on in the world right now, you can't hardly get there. In fact, you can't get nowhere. I'm on the phone today with Mark Wilson, or as all of his many, many friends know him, Bigwater. See, back in the day, back before Duck South was a group on Facebook. It was a chat room back in the old dark age days of the internet. A chat room. And Duck South, unlike many other chat rooms, Duck South, formerly MS Ducks, and I still call it MS Ducks, it was like a virtual coffee shop for, during the season we'd catch people from out of state, but it must have been every single duck hunter in the state of Mississippi would chime in, and we all had handles back in the day. I was Double R, Mark was Bigwater, and golly, I've forgotten a lot of other names, but more than just a place that we gathered on the internet, we actually participated in events together. I mean, it's kind of crazy. We'd go buy pitchers of beer and pizzas and meet up at a pizza joint and make a night of it. Or we'd go out to on dove hunts, and there'd be one of the members would have a MS Ducks duck hunt and 50 members, and you get to meet everybody. We'd have crawfish boils and teal hunts, and it became a real big social gathering. So it wasn't just this online thing of people all over the world speaking their mind and acting like fools like some of these kids do on social media today. It was real folks. And most of the folks I know from back in those days, we just kind of log in the morning and weigh in and see what was what and join in on the thread and talk, and then we get to know each other on the weekends. And this must have been, how long ago was that, Mark? 15 years ago? 20 years ago?
Yeah. It's getting now. You know, Ramsey, it used to be every time I told a story, it was, 5 or happened 10 years ago. Now I know I'm getting old because now it's starting to get, it was 20 years ago, you know. So, nearly 20 years ago.
I'm gonna tell a story on you, Mark. I don't know. I'm gonna ask you one day. I'm gonna ask you just a minute how you took the name Bigwater. I don't think I've ever known that, but I would then have to ask both of my children, both my boys, Forrest and Duncan, if they even knew your real name, Mark Wilson, because anytime I've ever heard them mention you, for what practically their entire lives, they talk about Mr. Bigwater. And I do remember Duncan was 5, maybe 6 years old, let's say. So that'd have been 14 years ago when we all 3-4 of us waded off in the Nissan swamp. And 1 minute before legal shooting time ended, a wood duck came and landed and gave it up, and Duncan killed his first duck with you.
Just the way we drew it up on the chalkboard, too.
Just like we drew it up on the chalkboard.
Yeah.
And if we'd been outlaws, we could have stayed and shot a whole lot more than we did. But we got on out of there. And you know, it wasn't long after I met you, I realized if Bigwater called and invited you to come Canada goose hunt for the early season of Mississippi, which is kind of sort of a big deal, you better clear your calendar and go. And I dang sure remember the several years that you always came up with dove fields plural, and we my kids cut their teeth and learned a shotgun on Bigwater dove fields back in the day.
Let me give you a shout out first, Ramsey. Hold on 1 second, man. Let me tell you. Let me give a shout out to a couple of old school names. I'll just go with you and the good days of dove hunting. Iron Grip was a contact that had made us a good contact up in Belzona area. And the guy, here's the way the story went down. The guy had a farm up there, and I don't know exactly the language of what all happened, but he wanted $100 to hunt for the all day or shoot your limit. And you quickly told him, said, well, we're just going to hunt half the day. So how about, and I think this was his first time to do an organized dove hunt. So you put out a reasonable deal and said, let's do $50. And he's like, all right, $50 is fine. And lo and behold, to this day, and I've hunted a lot of doves over the years, that was some of the best dove hunting I'd ever seen at times. I'm talking about when you could scan the field in a 360 direction and just birds were coming and attacking from every direction. And that's for $50, right. Ramsey, $50.
But he may have took your $50. He didn't take mine. I showed up with them 2 little boys, and Forrest shot his first limit on that field. Duncan shot his first doves on that field.
Yeah, shot them before I shot mine.
And there was enough dang doves. We all shot our limit, before it got too terribly hot out there on them morning hunts. And I remember trying to offer one of them brothers my money, and he wouldn't take it. And I remember I couldn't hit my last bird, and Forrest came over there and was coaching me. I've always been a streaky shooter, Ramsey, and I'm talking about I went into a funky cold Medina, miss after miss. Forrest is over there like, you got to get your cheek down a little bit closer here, Bigwater. I've been hunting 40 years, and he's been hunting 10. Yeah, showing me how to do it. Oh yeah, them boys will do it. How did you come up with the handle Bigwater in the first place?
It's no sexy story to it. I just 6'4", 320 pounds. I live near the water, so I'm big and I'm down by the water, so why not Bigwater? Plus, I had a little hole up here on the reservoir. I like to hunt down on the Bigwater. It was always conversation. Used to hunt out on the reservoir a lot out here. It was always divided up into a couple of areas. You go hunt the Bigwater or you go hunt up the river, so. And I lived right there near it, so it was no sexy story, just Bigwater. I'll go to the Bigwater.
My first memory of having met the infamous Bigwater, my very first memory was at the first annual, I think we had about 10 of them, crawfish boil at Willow Break. And the first year we had that crawfish boil there, it must have been 200 people show up. It was, cause you know, it wasn't just, chat room members. It was them and their wives and their kids.
Yes,
I mean, it was a pile of folks. And, boy, we had a bunch of fish out there in the lake that needed catching, and there were ice chests plural getting filled up with, but I'll never forget, we decided, back in the day, our dear friend, the late Hardin Phillips was around, old Webfoot, and he was good at, coaching me along on how to prepare it. Well, you need a T-shirt, you need a logo, you need this, you need that. So we ordered T-shirts, and I found it kind of interesting that on a bell-shaped curve, extra large was kind of that was kind of the MS duck size.
Yeah,
it was a lot of larges, and there were just as many double X as there was larges, but most people were extra large. And that's back in the days we all wore them old beefy tee. 100% cotton, good jersey. And then I had a guy I'd never met before inbox me, and he wanted a 5X.
LT. Don't leave off that T. I don't want one. That's just an XLT. Nobody wants to see no bare, undersized gut hanging out of a short T-shirt. My wife, my kids, nobody. Trust me.
And I said, and I wrote you back and said a 5X. He said larger if they make it.
Yeah.
And
you thought I was bullshitting, and I wasn't.
I thought you was bullshitting. And then when I never will forget, all these T-shirts, these boxes of T-shirts came in, and we started unfolding them and putting them off into sizes. And when I held up that 5X LT, it was as big as a living room carpet.
You could have put your whole family in it. Y'all could have all got in it.
Yeah, and but it fits you like a glove.
Yeah,
and that's when I realized, okay, so this is Bigwater.
Yeah.
Boat sale. I remember as kidding. The T-shirt was the size of a boat sail. And but anyway,
it was a good T-shirt, Ramsey. That thing lasted a long time.
I cleaned out my closet. I woke up one night or one day or something, you know, and I don't know, I don't know how this came about or why I even thought of this, but I started cleaning that dang closet out. I started just, you know how it is. You got all these dang shirts and all this stuff, and you don't throw them away, because why? But then you think to yourself, well, I ain't worn this thing in 17 years. So I started cleaning it out, and I found that T-shirt. And I did not throw that T-shirt away. And I still got a lot of those Duck South and MS Ducks T-shirts still around. And but you know, one of my other favorite memories, Forrest and I were talking about this the other night, was years later, I had met some buddies that I'm still in touch with on social media. I hadn't seen them in a while now. Andy Hogle and that bunch up in Ohio.
Yeah.
And you remember them? You remember? And a few, one year, I drove up with old MS Duck men.
Yeah.
Dan and one of his buddies. We drove up and we were going Canada goose hunt. And we got out there on this cut cornfield, and it was foggy, and we did not see a Canada goose, let alone fire a shot. But there was all these birds that we could see in the fog kind of flying just out of range, just buzzing around. I mean, flocks and flocks of these birds flying around. As the fog started clearing off, I realized they were doves. And I asked one of them Ohio boys, I said, y'all have a dove season? Yeah, don't nobody fool with them. Y'all shoot on it? No, we don't fool them little birds. And, well, I just, I said, well, do you mind if we hunt them? Well, no, we're planning on watching football this afternoon, but if y'all want to come out here and hunt them, we'll come out here and hunt them. So we all stopped at Walmart and bought a couple of boxes of low brass 8s and went out that afternoon and spectacular. I mean, it might have been the best dove hunt I've ever seen before since the continent of the United States of America. And so they came up after the hunt. We was plucking all them doves, and they said, hey, we got a hot field for Canada geese in the morning right next to a golf course. We said, great. Can we come back here and dove hunt instead? And we did. We bought more bullets and came back. So the following day, or the following year, me and you and Iron Grip, and who else went up there?
Dr. Munn, Marinesco, off the old MS.
Marinesco, Ian Munn, drove up to Ohio, and I think we did have a couple of good Canada Goose shoots. I remember you and Forrest, who was about 9 years old, getting in a dispute over who shot a particular Canada Goose. And by your own admission, it's probably him.
Yeah.
But you know what I never forget was we were sitting up under a telephone pole, Forrest and I were, and I was shooting birds and he was shooting birds, and I was trying to coach him along to get his limit. And you and Iron Grip were sitting over there across the field, and this field that was cut for silage. It's like if you went to the east, it was all farmland, but if you went to the west, it was just mega mansions. It was civilization. And you were sitting out there, y'all were sitting out there on a pretty nice spot right across my house. And I as far enough as I was, I saw some kid come out and talk to y'all and then go back in the house. About this time, some lady come out shrieking, hollering, jumping up and down, flopping everywhere, just shrieking at y'all. And Forrest said, what do they say? And I go, I don't know. I could hear her shouting, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. But what struck me, with all that shouting going on from just a few yards away, you and Iron Grip never looked back at her. Y'all just looked straight ahead like y'all was dead.
Yeah, that's right. We were. I thought it was a domestic squabble, to be honest. I was like, Ryan, somebody's getting their ass kicked over there. And I heard some words that this is a family. There may be kids listening to this podcast, so I'm not going to repeat them. But they began with F, and and they got other adjectives added on to that. But I would try to glimpse over my shoulder, Ramsey, just to see, make sure, and it just kept getting louder and louder. And I mean, she was bad upset. But what really blew her lid was, that big fat dove came floating on that right to left trajectory, which is my, it would be, from the right to the left, which is my favorite, way to shoot a bird, being a right-handed shooter. And, boy, I smoked him. I'm talking about and he didn't just fall dead, man. He helicoptered, propelled down. Those take an extra 3 or 4 seconds to swirl on down to the ground. And she, to her heart, she witnessed all that. And boy, man. You might shoot 50 or 100 more birds that season, and one won't propel down that dead and take that long for gravity to have its effect on it. And when she saw that, that's when she went back in her house and it was time to call, 911 and get the sheriff out there, because she couldn't handle that anymore. That was too much for her.
That was, to this day, probably the only I can recall right now, the only conflict or confrontation. And I was clear across the field, buddy. I didn't have nothing to do with y'all, but with an anti-hunter in the United States of America. How old was she?
Hell, I don't know. I never saw her, but I heard her. Let me tell you something. If the coronavirus gets everybody it's going to get, she'll be the last one, because that bitch had a set of lungs on her, bro. She could cut.
When it became apparent that she was an anti-hunter, I'm sitting there trying to delicately explain to my little boy, Forrest, who, like I say, is 8 or 9 years old, from the state of Mississippi, born and raised into this thing. I'm trying to explain, don't everybody think like us, and hunting is conservation. And about that time, he clipped a bird. This was after the police was up. And I know the police walked out, talked to you, and told you were well within your rights, you were well within your legal, don't worry, he was sorry, whatever. But I'll never forget, while he was sitting there, she was like in the street looking at him. He was over there talking to y'all. Her little brother or whoever was sitting there, Forrest shot a dove, and it knocked a few plumes out, and it flew over there and landed in an ash tree in her front yard. And while we were sitting there looking at it, it fell dead right in the middle of the driveway. And I told Forrest, I said, run over there and grab it. He goes, He wasn't about to go over there and get that bird. I think I walked over there after they went inside and got it.
Yeah, she claimed somebody was raining pellets down on the roof. But I think the sheriff told her, "Do you have any evidence of this? Can you show me a BB on the ground or something?"
Well, in all honesty, it was about 200 or 300 yards from where I was, and in all honesty, there is a chance I may have tinkled some shell. I mean, it didn't do that, but just kind of sprinkle it, I'm sure, But there's a chance that me or Forrest did. I don't know. I'm gonna blame it on Marinesco, and who despite all them doves, did not shoot a limit. And I know, I don't remember how many he shot, but I've hunted with him for 30 years, and I know he didn't shoot a limit.
My favorite part, though, Ramsey, and this is a tribute to the American military guy that has done a lot of things for all of us. My favorite part was when, after it was all said and done, after the woman, after the sheriff deputy, and this guy comes pulling up on the road over there and starts honking his horn, and I remember looking at Ryan and saying, "Boy, what in the hell does this guy want?" And he starts waving me over to the car. And so Ryan and I get up and walk over there to see this old guy. And he got out of his car and had his cane at his side, and he knew that woman was crazy as hell over there. And he said, "Let me tell you boys something." He said, "I am so proud to see you out here exercising your Second Amendment to the Constitution." He talked about, he said, "I didn't give up what I gave up." And I don't know where I know he was military, but I knew that he was, glad to see people out there practicing our freedoms.
Well, those are some good days, Mark. We've had some good days. We've had some bits and pieces here and there. We've had some good times out there. I tell you, it's been a long time. Anymore. Gosh, my best friends, yourself, Marinesco for that matter, Chuck over at camp, a lot of them boys at camp and around the world. I mean, most of my closest and best friends I just don't get to see every day no more, And but boy, God, has the world not turned upside down since me and you and Forrest went and ate raw oysters over at Shuckers a couple of weeks ago?
Crazy, just crazy upside down.
I'd have to go look back at my calendar to figure out exactly what date that was, but I know this. Here's my timeline right now. On February 21st, I was in downtown Baku, Azerbaijan. We stumbled into a really cool restaurant that will be on my hit list forevermore. I'm on there. Very, very, very good food. And my host announced, he was reading as we were waiting on our orders, he was reading the internet. He announced, he very excitedly, he said, whatever he said, holy cow, whatever his expression was, he said Iran, which was just the next country over. He said, just got fully quarantined, nobody in and nobody out. Their border is sealed because of coronavirus. And I'm like, wow, whew. My wife was even, it's kidding. Like, hey, don't you catch nothing on that plane riding back over. Now, I will be honest with you. Bird flu and SARS and MERS and swine flu and all this other stuff we've heard about over the years, and heck, Mark, I have not caught the flu, the common flu, the regular flu. I haven't caught that flu since 91.
Yeah.
91. I just, I don't, I sometimes get a little, especially this time of year, I might get a little sniffle. Back in Dallas Fort Club this year, all that handshaking, I might get a little bit of upper respiratory that something will knock out. But I don't take it up on the ride home. I went through the hand sanitizer. I just, planes ain't some big romantic first class advertisement, son. Airplanes are a mobile home almost like a porta potty in the air. You know, they're not just saying, you know, I'm always careful just to use hygienic practices and whatnot. But you know, can you say that when you and I were sitting there eating them oysters, and I had oysters, you had something else good. Forrest had a pobo, I believe. But I ain't gonna go to Shuckers and not eat raw oysters. And but did you think, did it cross our minds that the world would be upside down in a couple of weeks?
Let me tell you, Ramsey, we are a mini Wolf of Wall Street at my office. We have a bunch of degenerates. And when it comes to gambling, there's always something we're betting on. We'll bet on anything. Ball games, they've got a whiteboard, and everybody's always placing wagers on these boards. And we anyway, when this around that time right before we went to eat, I put a wager on the board. And I said, I bet, this is when the first case was announced in Washington State. I put a wager up there. And I said, I bet coronavirus will be here in 6 months, which we're talking around the 1st of March when I put this wager on the board. And I said, coronavirus will be in Mississippi in 6 months. And a lot of the people are like, no, it won't be here. It won't be here. It's going, it's not going to get here. It'll take longer than that for it to make its way here. And shit, 6 days later, it was here, and I was wrong, bad wrong.
But even if I had bet that it would be here, I'd have shrugged it off.
Yeah,
I'd have, the common cold affects as many people. The common flu affects as many people. Bird flu, and I never will forget. This is sad but true. But one of the first years back when we used to have Dovefield at Willowbreak, I can remember the bird flu outbreak. Bird flu. What the heck, bird flu? Well, man, I mean, Clarion Ledger, everybody, talking about wearing rubber gloves when you pluck the gloves. And, man, I'm sitting there plucking birds barehanded. And somebody, one of the smarter men, I know I look smart, but I ain't. And one of the smarter men said, you want a pair of rubber gloves? And I told him, I said, Richard, the day that I have to wear rubber gloves to pluck a dove, it's the day I just might as well go and pass on to the happy hunting ground. It just, the world ain't fit to live in. And that's just, I know that sounds young and stupid, but because it was. And, but the truth of the matter is, I mean, I'm just not going to wear no rubber glove to pluck a dove and, over bird flu. And so, with that mindset, all these years later, still, But this last couple of weeks, since me and you and Forrest sat there and ate oysters and had a great day, it was sunshiny, it was beautiful. We sat outside, and the 30-minute lunch stretched into an hour, and I wanted you to come on and help be a co-host at times because you're such a great storyteller and such a dear friend. Never, ever would have dreamed that what I have seen unfold on television and in contact with the many, many people around the world that I'm in daily contact with, this would have escalated like it did. And honestly, as recently as a week ago today, I began to think, well, with the way this travel stuff is going, the way some of these folks are reacting, I may not be flying on April 22nd. Let's see, I got home on February 22nd, supposed to be home 8 weeks, longest stretch of time I've been home for 4 years. No big deal. But we actually sent an email last week to everybody in our email database just explaining that, hey, we're very well aware of what's going on. And if your hunt is interrupted, if because of quarantine or flight disruption, your hunt doesn't take place, please don't worry. Your hunt will be there when the world regains normalcy. If we have to reschedule you for 21 or 22, don't worry. There's a lot of things to worry about right now, but your hunt is not one of them. We've worked out contingencies with our outfitters, and everything's going to be fine. Let's just get through this thing. And after that email, I get up in the morning, drink coffee, watch TV like I guess everybody else, and I've really not. I've had to pull myself away from the TV because it just sucks you right in. What this news cycle. And, it's funny how there ain't no Democratic primary going on no more. That's gone. I ain't seen hide the hair neither one of them fools on television no more. I ain't seen nothing. The entire news cycle is something called COVID-19, something called coronavirus. And boy, who knew that 4,999 of my Facebook friends were bona fide experts in this subject, because they are. And it's just, but I'll say this: when any president interrupts the economic prosperity that's been going on these last few years to begin orchestrating wartime executive powers, that gets my attention. When every country, every single country on earth, every single continent on earth that I've ever set foot in, rope off their borders to exclude foreign nationals, to quarantine their own people at the level that I'm seeing right now, that gets my attention.
Ramsey, let me say something. That's something that's concerning, because those countries, some of those countries that you stepped foot in are, the seasons they're different from our seasons, and I'm hoping that it's going to get better down here. But yet they've been going through warmer climates down there, and yet the virus still has made its way and worked its way through them too. So, it's like everybody. It originated, I guess, in China, and somehow or another spread around some different communities. And I think it's just because of labor and of course, international travel and all. But what I'm seeing, and I'm no expert, I'll tell you right now, I'm no expert. But what I'm seeing in conversations, and I've even found myself trying to read news articles in different countries that I work in a lot. And it's like a different length views. America is weeks and months behind some of the countries in Europe, some of the countries in Asia. The Southern Hemisphere is weeks again behind us, and or months behind. And I'm trying not to get my news off of social media. But I have listened to some intelligent people recently, as last week on Joe Rogan, had an epidemiologist on there. I've tried to just get some good information, and nobody knows for sure that this is going to react like the flu and fully disappear during the warm cycle. That's not proven. Now, is it? I don't know. Let's pray it is. But I spent Friday night. I got a team going down to Argentina. Two of them work in China, and I spent about an hour on the phone with one of them the other night. He's still in. Even if he wanted to leave right now, he can't. And he kind of gave a little ground sourcing version, like on the site right there. And he's not in Wuhan, but some of his plants are. And I wish I'd asked him where he was. And he was explaining to me about how, it's the big bubble's kind of over right now, that 2.5 months. He said, but Ramsey, everybody is expecting a resurgence. Everybody knows it's fixing to come back. It's another wave of it's coming. And he was explaining to me, and I've been to Beijing on the way to Mongolia a few years ago. It's a very, very different country. But they are not
Americans. They do not share our freedom. They do not have generations of the freedom, the absolute pure freedom that we Americans enjoy. They don't have that. One emperor after the next for their entire history, they have not been free like us. And so when their government says, get in your houses, guess what they do? They get in their houses. They just, that's their culture, you know. And it's like he tried to explain to me, if you were to fully, of course you want them to be free like we are and share what we do, but it'll have to be done a little over time. But right now they obey. And what he explained to me, he said the reason it was 2.5 months, the reason they got control is because he himself was mandated a 60-day quarantine. And he said, let me explain what I mean. He says, I don't smoke cigarettes. Some of my neighbors do. He said, what that meant is go into your home. And if you want to smoke, stay inside your home. Do not step outside on your back patio to smoke. He said, the first time you did, and a neighbor called, there was a knock on your door, and you were politely warned. The second time you broke that quarantine, you were hauled off to jail, probably forever.
Last place you want to be.
That's the last place I'd like to be right now.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, but they were able to. He said, but on the flip side, all health care was free, whatever that may mean. And he said that the public service was delivering groceries as needed. He said, you know, knock, 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 answer the door, and there's groceries. And you reach outside and got them and went back into your house. And he said, you know, it was astounding. And he said, but that's how we were able, they were able to contain it. Never mind the fact, he said, this is very important. They've been through MERS and SARS and bird flu and all these infectious outbreaks before, and they've been caught flat-footed and unaware. But this time, South Korea reacted monumentously because they've been there before. And apparently, listening to these podcasts and stuff, a lot of people a lot of these epidemiology types that study this stuff, and they're kind of expecting the big one. You know, these germs mutate very, very quickly, and they're expecting a big pandemic like the Spanish flu of 1918. The world is just kind of expecting it. It's been 100 years since something like that broke out, and they're just kind of expecting it. But man, I wouldn't. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't thinking everybody was overreacting a few weeks ago. But
Randy,
but now,
what brought the Spanish? What brought that to an end?
I don't know. You know, I've been meaning to Google it and read up on it. But I do know this. I do know I heard something about there was a big parade. You know, it happened right after World War One.
Yeah.
Bam, right on the heels of it. And it was like there was a big celebration parade that one of the cities, Boston or New York or somebody, had, and pursuant to that public event, 4,500 troops died.
Wow.
And they called off one somewhere like Oklahoma City or somewhere out in the Midwest, St. Louis. They called a big event off, and nobody died. And but now, as I understand it, I think I'm gonna spend my afternoon after I see the administration speak. I think I'm just gonna go do a little reading up on this. But I don't know, Mark. I just know I don't know what's gonna make this end. I don't know what our time frame is, but I know this. I know that with what I'm seeing other federal governments do around the world, what I'm seeing our federal government do and put into play, Carnival Cruise Lines has now been relegated as mobile hospitals, military ships that are hospitals have been deployed. MASH units have been deployed. National Guard units are being deployed. $2 trillion, but break an open check to cushion everything is being instituted. Right now, a third of Americans are under, let's say, optional quarantine. Look at the news and see all these kids on the beach and going down to different parties and doing things. You know, they're ignoring it, but it's you know, I'm not ignoring it. I'm doing everything I can. I've got I feel like I'm at risk because of my age, because of underlying health conditions. I don't know what this is, but I'm just trying to take care of myself and my family, and I'm following the rules. I'm painting within the lines. I want this thing to pass quickly. I want the world to return to normalcy. But now, just in the last couple of days, I've seen like from some pretty conspicuous personalities going around the internet. Some people I know asking the question, do you know anybody that has been affected? Do you know anybody that has been tested positive? Do you know anybody that's been exposed to anybody positive? You know, like it's some kind of internet conspiracy. And folks, when 140-something countries have quarantined themselves from the rest of the world, we're in a global economy. When the supply chain has come to dang near a screeching halt globally, that ain't something NBC can pull off. It's not. You know, and I am not a sky's falling chicken little type of guy. I'm just not that guy. But I'm concerned. And Mark, do you know anybody? I mean, what are your thoughts about exposure and knowing anybody?
Ramsey, it's hit me awful, really hard. You know, like I said, I thought it would take it a while to get here, but it's came down like this. One of my fellow coworkers has tested positive for it, and I didn't have any direct exposure to her, but then a guy that I work with in the back of our building went. So let me put it to you how scary it is. She went to him on a Monday and said, "Hey, keep in mind, these two people are high school friends, Ramsey. You know, they've known each other since first grade." So she goes to him and says, "Hey, Grant, do I feel warm?" And he said, "Yeah, you know, you do feel warm." And, you know, she ends up going home, getting tested, and she ends up going home, you know, has fever, ends up going in. They do the test for the flu and knock out everything that they can rule out. And then she is administered the COVID-19 test, and it comes back, you know, positive. And, you know, here it is.
Had she been coming to work?
Well, she came in on a Monday, that Monday morning, and, you know, didn't really feel all that great, but, you know, attributed her symptoms to, you know, the allergy and the pollen, which has been tremendous, you know. I mean, you know, it's everywhere, and, you know, a lot of people are suffering from that, and that's, you know, the timing of this is just awful. Spring break and all this other stuff going on with your senses and your respiratory system already, and then she comes in and, you know, she's, I guess,
it's pollen season, Mark.
Yeah. She, you know, she ends up waking up the next day and feels better. And it's, you know, by lunchtime, she's feeling awful again, and, you know, realizes that maybe it's not something that is just allergy related, and, you know, that's when it comes back. And then, so she's had direct contact with that guy that I've had direct contact with. So I'm self-quarantined at home right now, just kind of, you know, hoping and praying that, you know, that I was able to, you know, dance around it. You know, I'm about halfway through my quarantine with no symptoms yet, but yeah, it's real. It's out there, you know, and I have reason to believe that, you know, out of my company of 60, 70 people, I have reason to believe that 2 other people have I would bet my last dollar that 2 other people already have it in my company alone. So 5% of my company, and then I don't know, this thing is we're only halfway through the window of the symptoms being able to show themselves. So it wouldn't surprise me if 10 more of us came down with it. So the good news is the girl that originally developed it is doing better. So
how old is she, Mark?
25 roughly.
How old are you?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. I'm 50 with an underlying condition, so that's why I'm over here. I'm anxious. I'm super anxious. Just pin up, nervous.
Are you worried, Mark?
To say the least, yeah, to say the least. But we just take it one day at a time.
It's to me, my personality is control freak, and I don't mean that in a bad sense, but I think that based on my past life experiences, there's a lot of things I can't control, but on things I can control, I work very hard to do it. The nature of my business, I can't guarantee that any one of the thousands of clients we have per year going somewhere is going to have the very best hunt of their lives, or unless they go to Argentina or something like that. But I mean, even then, the weather, they if they're going sea duck hunting, they can get weathered out, or
it's still hunting.
It can rain. It's still hunting, and but I can't control if airlines are going to run on time or cancel, or that maybe a client, and it happens, life rears its head, somebody breaks a leg or gets a divorce or something. There's a lot of stuff that can, when you plan these trips a year out, there's a lot of things that can interrupt another. But you work so hard. I work so hard. My wife works so hard to our partners like Cherie and Laura. We all work so hard to control the controllables. And now we're looking at a situation that we don't know. Trump doesn't know. The House and Senate doesn't know. The government doesn't know. Nobody knows. What I do know is that this perceived 2-week thing going on, this thing ain't going to be over in 2 weeks. Now, we may decide to take another course of action rather than institute a mandatory quarantine. We may decide that the infectious rate and everything else is an acceptable loss versus an economy and everything else. Our government may decide that, but we don't know. And just because we do doesn't mean that Argentina's going to open up their floodgates. I heard the other night a very interesting statistic. I read this, or either one of my contacts down there told me. Buenos Aires is a city of 14 million people. Very beautiful city. I've spent a lot of time there. I love it. 14 million people, and their inventory of respirators is about 600. And you want to talk about overwhelming a system. If this thing gets a hold of them and breaks out, that's scary stuff. I got a text right before I called you, and we dialed in. This is in Netherlands. I got a call from an associate in Netherlands. I'm gonna read it. Since 1 hour, new coronavirus rules. Now, y'all listen. I'm reading this verbatim, and he talks kind of funny because of the way they place the verb in front of subject, stuff like that. But I'll read it to you. Since 1 hour, new coronavirus rules. Until June 1st, no events at all. Not allowed before people to come together with more than 2 people. Stay at home, only to the supermarket, buy stuff to eat. Here in Netherlands, in 2 southern states, at Belgium border, hospitals full with corona patients. Intensive care is too small. Go to other hospitals. in the South, they recently celebrated Carnival. Lot of Catholic people there. Ramsey, when you think, oh, Corona, it's just a flu, no problem, you are really wrong. It's very dangerous. Buy soap with alcohol. Wash hands. Buy mask. In 2 weeks, also in USA, sold out. We stay in our house, no contact with people, no contact with son, with daughter-in-law, with granddaughter. And he made a little tearful emoticon.
Yeah.
Only video calling WhatsApp. It is big drama also before hunting trips. Take care of your family. Be alert. And in time, I don't understand, maybe misspelling, coronavirus is dangerous. You know, and they're weeks ahead of us. They got a little bit different social dynamic. It's a very, very populous European country, but it is also one of the very wealthiest countries in the European Union. Very, very wealthy. You know, and they're struggling. And you know, I'm not a sky is falling kind of guy. You know, Mark, I've said this. I'm from the deep South, and down here in the deep South, hurricanes and big tornadoes and events like that are it's a way of life.
We just had the big flood.
It's a way of life. But you know, I've said this, and I'll continue to believe this. If you want to see America at its best, and I mean if you want to see each and every real American, the kind of American that stormed the beaches of Normandy to make this country the best, you don't need a president. You don't need a person, an elected official to make America great. You know what you need? A crisis. Because since this country was founded, you show me a crisis, and I'll show you red-blooded Americans rolling up their sleeves to get over it. So I know that there's going to be a tomorrow. I know there's going to be a tomorrow. I know the stock market's going to come back. I know that at some point in the future, America's going to be America, and we're going to be a better America. I believe that. I have to believe that, but I believe that.
Our Cajun Navy is a good example.
The Cajun Navy, you know, the whole time, that's exactly the Cajun Navy. When the government can't come in to the rescue, man,
duck hunters.
Those duck hunters will put on their white boots and go drive 8 hours to launch their boat and get into a Houston suburb and rescue people.
Yeah.
They don't need a president or a federal government making them American to make the world a better place. You know, so I know I've got faith in this country and my fellow Americans. I have got maybe the only kind of faith an American can have, that there will be a tomorrow. But Mark, you know, this is a whole different ball of wax, man. Now I find out my friend Bigwater is going through this. You know, I
mean, Randy, the odds are, you know, somebody else you know is going through this too.
I believe before it's over with, a lot of folk we all know going to be going through it.
Yeah.
And right now, you know, I'm not a sky is falling kind of guy. I know that tomorrow's going to come. I know we're going to get through this, just like every other thing this country's been through since its founding. I know we're going to get through this. I know this world is going to get through this. There's some real smart people working on this thing, and I've got faith. But I do believe what President Donald Trump says when he says it's going to get worse before it gets better. I've got some other folks coming on. You know, Mark, we just launched our Duck Season Somewhere podcast. The first episode aired today. I've got recordings for the next 3.5 months, once a week. But I decided now that I'm quarantined, now that everybody I practically know is on quarantine, that I'm starting to run one episode. I've got some pretty interesting folks lined up in upcoming weeks, and I'm not preaching the sky is falling, but I do truly believe that the quicker that we all buckle up and do the right thing, the quicker we're going to get past this thing.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm really looking forward to it. Cause me, and I'm sure I'm not alone, but I can only take so much of hearing about it before I'm like, okay, let me get my mind off this for a little while, and maybe these will show, take people's mind, ease their minds off of what's going on a little bit. That's going to be a good thing for people.
It is good for people. Faith, hope, and love. Three most important things, I think, we've got to have faith and we've got to have hope. And, it's going to be fine. It's going to be. No matter what it's going to be, Mark, it's, you got to have faith. Have you taken a test?
No, I have not. Yeah. I don't think that, until I showed some symptoms. And I think the benchmark is a fever with some other symptoms, but mainly that, in my situation, if I had a fever that, even the fever needs to go above, 100.4, 100.6, maybe somewhere in there before, if you're just running 99 or 99.5, I don't think that's enough. It's got to be a little bit of elevated fever to, in my situation, trigger something.
Yeah. Well, Mark, I want you to keep me posted on this, and I'm I know my buddy Bigwater's gonna be fine, but it's a wake up call to me, and besides that, you're on the hook to do a whole lot more podcasts with me.
Good deal. Yeah.
And God willing, and the creek don't rise, we'll share a dove field or a duck blind not too long from now.
Looking forward to it.
Folks, all you guys listening, thank y'all. At Ramsey Russell Get Duck. Y'all stay apprised of the situation. Color between the lines. Let's get through this thing together. Don't panic. Just do the right thing. See you next time.
Duck Season Somewhere is produced by Ben Page. Original soundtrack by our friend Cody Huggins.